What's up, y'all? This is Mara Juno, and you might know me from World of Warcraft as Illyria Windrunner or the Walking Dead game as Krista, among a few others. And you're listening to the man, the legend, the Scott Clark, and the Gaming Outsider.
What's up, Gaming Outsider community? We've got a very special guest this week. Jacob and I welcome Jonathan Concepcion, the developer behind the game 1-Bit Adventure, and we're going to talk about mobile games, what we like, what we don't like, and our favorites to play on phones and tablets. In news, Nintendo confirmed that the successor to the Switch will have backwards compatibility. That's good news. And new games discussed. This week, we got 2 PS5 games, one called Back Then and another called Neo Arbor Rescue Squad. Also, Jacob played a game called Sulphur on PC. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to the Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community, which can be found at thegamingoutsider.com, facebook.com/groups/thegocast, or even our Discord server. There's a link for it in the show notes of this very episode. It is Tuesday, November 12th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me is my good friend, Jacob Gunderson. Jacob, how you doing, man?
Let's go!
It is so good to have you back, man. 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, I'm going to get used to this.
Yeah. Feeling a little comfortable there behind the mic, are you?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's good
Now
to have
that
you back.
I got some bugs worked out. Maybe I don't sound so bad.
Yeah. We had a certain phrase off air that we had him say into the microphone with lots of the P sound in it. We can't repeat it on this podcast, but it was quite hilarious. We had some mic issues last week with Jacob, but he is up to speed. Good to have you here, man. Looking forward to chatting some games with you.
Thank you.
Zach is not here. He's still in Japan. I texted him today. He is having a great time over there. Alyssa, unfortunately, is still feeling under the weather, so she won't be joining us. But, guys, we have a very special guest joining us this week. This was one of our VIP guests at R2V2 this year. He was a vendor. He is a developer. The name of his company is Galactic Slice. He developed a game called 1-Bit Adventure that's available on mobile and PC. And he's also developed a game called Spectrum Cube. Looking forward to chatting with him. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Mr. Jonathan Concepcion. How you doing, Jonathan?
Thank you. Doing good. I'm very glad to be here and to talk about games and talk about 1-Bit Adventure as well as the upcoming sequel, Dungeon Agreed. So glad to be here.
Okay, man. Well, we're looking forward to chatting with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Galactic Slice, how you got started, and tell us about your games.
Yeah, so the history of Galactic Slice was about 5 years ago. I quit. Well, I shouldn't say I quit, but I hurt my back at work, and I had knowledge of making video games, so I made a bunch of small projects, but never took that leap into making a full-fledged game and actually trying to make money off of it and live off of it. So when I hurt my back, I decided, well, I'm going to try to work part-time. My wife decided she could work full-time, so we flipped the roles. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, 1-Bit Adventure was born. And then 5 years later, I'm full-time. It was a dream come true in terms of the struggle of trying to spread my word and build a community from the ground up. And it's just been a blast. Just trying to bring old school retro games to life and in a modern age.
Mm-hmm. I got to tell you, you're this community that you've built. You got to remind me, what is your brother's name?
My brother. So I have 2 brothers. The
one that I met at MGC.
Okay, so the oldest one, that one's Oscar. He's been through he has a lot of experience. I'll tell you that. If you talk to anyone around in Milwaukee, and they probably know Oscar. But yes, he has been the brother I look up to and see how life is going, and he has so much experience and knowledge. And he brings that life lesson to me. My other brother, Christian, he's 1 year older than me, and we're kind of like the brother that butt heads a lot. You know, if we're playing like Mortal Kombat, it's like, no, I beat you fair and square. No, you mashed that button. So it's like, yeah, we bump heads, but we also, love each other. And we've done projects together, and it for the most part, it was just me trying to explore how to make a game by myself. So my brother did help out a little bit, and then the rest was up to me to try to get other people on board with it. So
I got to tell everybody, Oscar is the reason that you are talking to me right now. Because I went to MGC, Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee, and I don't even know if we would have gone down that aisle, but your brother was like at the end cap of the aisles.
Accosting people.
He is like the ultimate hype man for you, dude. He was like, he just looked like the proud brother of what you were doing, and he was just reeling people in. You got to come down and play One Bit Adventure. This game is awesome. It's really great. He's passed out stickers. Oh, I got to go see what this dude's talking about.
Well,
so
I had already been playing the game. And so he stopped us and he gave me a sticker and he's like, oh yeah, if you ever heard of this game, you need to come play it. One Bit Adventure. It's awesome. Blah, blah. And I stopped for a second and was like, oh, you mean this? And I pulled out my phone and opened it up and there it was. And he was like, yes, that game. Go talk to him. He's right there. Go get it.
It was really kind of sweet, man. It just made me really want to talk to you just to see how hyped your older brother was for you. So that was awesome. So tell everybody about One Bit Adventure.
Yes, so One Bit Adventure is a free-to-play, turn-based roguelike adventure game where you choose a character class and you go on this endless adventure against rogue monsters. And as you progress further and further, the stronger the enemies get, the more loot you get. But you can also end your adventure, go back to zero, and start the grind all over again, except you'll be stronger than ever and pursuing a higher step. So
it's a really cool game. I've actually played this one. Unlike Jacob, I hadn't heard of this until we met you, and I have it on my phone right now. It's a great little game. It's kind of like it's one of those where whenever your character, the other enemy characters don't move unless you move. It's like grid based.
Yes,
right?
it is. It is grid based. It's heavily inspired from Pixel Dungeon, except a vertical scroller where you're endlessly going upwards. A lot of people try to reference it as Zelda. If Zelda was turn-based, you'd basically have One Bit Adventure.
Huh.
And One Way Heroics is another one. Their concept is actually almost similar to One Bit, and I never knew about it, except it's like you're trying to avoid the void that's eating the world, and you're moving just like One Bit, turn-based, tile by tile. So
that's interesting. Well, what's really cool is the depth that comes with this game, because you've got all kinds of stats and gear and different things that you can do that make each run super exciting. It looks on the surface like it's going to be really simple, but it's deceptively complex.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, when I started the game from the beginning, I knew from the get-go that if I were to make a complex game, it would be hard to explain to anyone about how to play it. So I went in with the purpose of, well, let's try to make it so simple that you could use one finger to move, to also attack, to interact. And as I progressed, I started adding more features. There's different equipments at different step levels, and then when you get into the meat and grind of it, you discover professions, and then there's different skill sets, but it all still relies on a simple mechanic. You just move and attack just by flicking the stick with your finger, and I don't know, it was just more or less, it was bare bones. And then I was like, well, what if I add features here and there, but then look back 5 years later, there's so many features, except when you play the game, it's so simple. Like, that was just the beauty of One Bit, and just what makes it so much different. It's like, oh, it's an easy game, and then you play like for 5 hours, 10 hours later, like, wow, you could do this, you could do that. I didn't know that skeletons could, deal this. Oh, I discovered Reapers by skipping 2 campfires, and all of a sudden I'm in this horde mode. So yes, definitely a lot of different mechanics in the game. So.
It's a great little game, and I recommend people check it out. Where can they play it?
Yes, so One Bit Adventure is free to play on Google Play, App Store, and Steam. I do have it on crazygames.com. However, I haven't updated that much, but I do plan on updating that in the future.
Very cool. And you got some other games as well, right?
Yes, so there's 2 games. So I rebranded Spectrum Cube into Reflex Cube. This one's a very mini game-esque. I try to go into the casual field of flick the cube and you flick it to the right color and score points. And however fast you can flick the cubes, you get the most points within a minute. So that's one of the mini games I've made. The second game is going to be the sequel to One Bit Adventure, and that is Dungeon Agreed. Essentially, it takes One Bit Adventure and makes it into a multiplayer, so you can play with up to 4 friends, dungeon crawling through an endless world together.
Now, will that be playing simultaneously, or will that be asynchronous?
So this is one of the hot topics on whether or not it will be something where you move and you have to wait for your friends to move. So it's going to be a little boring. I've went through so many different iterations of it, and I found the perfect mix and balance, which essentially it is real time, but it is grid-based movement. So think of enemies within your circle will affect the timer. So if you move while an enemy is near you, it brings that speed meter up. So the moment you move, they move. And if your friends decide to move, well, if they're not far away, you don't have to worry. You can take your turn whenever you want, and you won't affect your friend until you get into that circular range in which you're essentially going to be battling in real time, but you still move like how 1-bit does. So a little mix.
That's really cool, man. That's a very clever idea. When can we expect to get our hands on that one?
So that one is still in development. I am expecting end of summer to at least be going into early access. For sure, I'm going to try to get demos out, try to promote it at different conventions upcoming, and seeing how players play the game before fine-tuning it for early access launch.
Very cool, man. Well, we'll definitely be keeping our ears open for that one, and we'll play it and give some feedback to you as well.
Awesome.
I mean, who are you kidding? We'll probably see him at conventions.
Yeah.
I know, right? Just keep running into him. So, it was great to have you at R2V2, man. I was bummed that Oscar wasn't there because I wanted to shake his hand and be like, "Hey, thanks for introducing me to Jonathan." But you did bring your family. That was really, really cool that they were both there. I think you have 2 daughters, is that right?
Yes. I have Kyra and Sasha, and that was actually their first gaming convention, and having to explain what I do to them, that convention just made them like eyes wide open. Oh, this is what Daddy does. Oh, this is 1-bit adventure. This is what people are playing. Like it was such a fun experience for them to have. It was a little hard because they wanted to sleep most of the time after they
were asleep. They were crashed out on the floor.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish we had thought about it. We'd have brought them a cot or something. They were just like sleeping on the floor, but.
Yeah, we had their blankets, but we didn't think about that as well. But we'll prepare for future conventions, but not as much. So we'll see.
I hear you. Well, Jonathan, it's great to have you here. Really enjoy your games. I got to tell you, you're calling it Reflex Cube now. Is that right?
Yes.
So I've been. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, the Reflex Cube is the rebranded. I think the main reason why I switched from Spectrum Cube was because when I search Spectrum, I think of Spectrum Internet and Spectrum TV, and so we weren't getting any traffic because the search algorithm made it hard to appear. So Reflex Cube was just another way to rebrand it. So
gotcha. I've been playing that one, and I got to tell you, the thing that throws me off is the word cyan. Or cyan, however you pronounce
it. Cyan.
Cyan,
Yes.
Because I'm like...
The color?
It's blue. Yeah, because they have blue and cyan. Yeah, so like I have to like differentiate in my head which one is blue and which one is cyan. I got it, but it broke my brain for a little bit there. And I got to tell you, too, I appreciate, or at least I know Zach would appreciate this, that you have included a colorblind mode. He's one of those people that cannot like differentiate between greens and reds, and obviously there are greens and reds on the cube in Reflex Cube, so that definitely helped. He actually tried it and said that I can confirm that I can't tell the difference between those 2 colors. So it was very, very forward thinking that you did that, man. Yeah. Well, let's get into it, and we usually start the show talking about games that we've been catching up on. So what have you been playing lately?
So, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has been my main go-to in terms of a new game playing. I don't play ranked as much because there's a lot of hot topics in ranked, but the episode battles, it was just amazing to go relive Goku's Z Saga all the way up to Super, and just the challenge it brought. It's been a while since I had played like Tekkaichi, and yeah, this was another level. Also, I've been playing Satisfactory 1.0. That's my relax. Even though I work on the game, I go and play Satisfactory to work on my factory and build a bunch of factories with conveyor belts everywhere. Don't know, it's just relaxing. And then car mechanics. Yeah, can't confirm that. You go to work just to work, and it feels good to work. Okay. And then Car Mechanic Simulator. I think this one was in my library for the longest, but I never actually like tried to play it. And another relaxing job kind of game where you're fixing up cars, but you're not necessarily doing detail designing. You're like, oh, my brakes are gone. I need you to replace the brake caliper. I'm like, okay, I'll go do that real quick. And yeah, it's just a lot of relaxing games that I end up doing in my spare time. So
now, do you have experience fixing cars?
No, that's the funny part.
Huh.
I've never done an oil change yet. I'll do it in the game. So yeah.
Interesting. So there's hope for me to like this game, because I tried doing car stuff when I was a kid. My brother and my stepdad tried to teach me, and I couldn't remove a spark plug from my truck. It was.
The funny part is I never knew where a spark plug would plug into until I played the game. I'm like, oh, that's where spark plugs go.
Jacob is judging us right now. Look at the look on his
well,
face.
Okay, so like I've done a lot of work on cars, and I've changed my spark plugs, and a buddy of mine came to me and said, hey, I need help changing the spark plugs on my Jimmy. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's do it. So I opened up his hood and I looked and I was like, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Where are the other ones? Well, I had to actually
that's what I had, dude.
I had to read the owner's manual, and you have to turn the wheels as far as you can get them, take off the cover underneath the wheel, and then like reach up and in, and then there's the spark plug. So you need like a special tool to get in there to crank it. Oh, it was just a pain.
Dude, it's so funny you say that, because my vehicle, I didn't have a Jimmy, but I had an S10, which are basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just the GMC version. And yeah, that was my first experience trying to change a spark plug, was on my S10.
Mm-mm.
And I'm like, who would do this on purpose? Like, this is insane. So yeah. Anyway, it's a game that I looked at and said I'm never gonna have any interest. But hearing you, Jonathan, say that you've never worked on a car, and that kind of gets me intrigued a little bit. So maybe I have to look into that. What about you, Jacob?
Definitely.
What have you been catching up on?
Well, I owe you a review on Planetsmith, so I re-downloaded it and pulled it down, and
you uninstalled it?
Oh yeah, it's it's very well. It's Minecraft Pocket Edition without the pocket. It's about a gig, I think.
So it's just Minecraft?
But it does hexagon blocks instead of blocks.
Oh.
But the difference is this has a round world. And so I wanted to know, I turned it on, I was playing it, and my brain goes, how is the world round? And so I started doing math. And if you actually do math, like why geometry is called geometry, if you have a circle and you do a straight line, it should curve around the world. And then if you build straight out, the outside line should be longer than the inside line.
Okay, I'm with you.
And so I started doing it. And when I finished my calculations or whatever, I did probably, I think 30 blocks. I didn't see a change. It was the same number. So I was like, man, there's got to be some kind of visual trickery going on here to either change my perception of the world or bend the world around it to make it look like it's a round map. And so I had to go, I went above and beyond. I ended up making a cube not a cube, I made a block or a square, I guess, that was probably way bigger than it needed to be. It was about 200 blocks long and as many blocks high as I could go. And I found out that the higher you go with it, the blocks get thinner and wider to make up the difference of the roundness. And so they're tilted ever so slightly depending on the size of the world, and then they get wider to make up the difference of how the shapes are at the center of the earth and at the top of the earth. And so I thought
Do
that
me a
was pretty
favor,
cool.
don't share this information with flat earthers.
Yes.
Because I feel like this would just start all kinds of conspiracy theories.
Because there's a laser in the game now. There was a recent update. I don't know if it was 2 months ago or a month ago, but the only thing he's added in like 3 years is this laser, and it allows you to destroy any block that you're looking at just by whatever. So I went down to the core. I'm standing on the core, and I would look over the horizon and shoot, and I was like, well, okay, it destroys all the way to the surface, which means it's got to have a curve, or else the straight laser wouldn't go up. So yeah. I had to figure it out. So I mathed in a game that I really shouldn't have spent like 4 hours on, but I did.
That's genuinely kind of cool, though, man. That's like experimentation that I wish younger people would do more in games like that. You know what I mean? You learn something.
Yeah, I have pictures in game of the blocks on the bottom compared to the blocks on the top. I'll send them to you later so you can see it. But yeah, they go from probably like full length blocks to like itty bitty squished ones.
Huh. Nice. Yeah. Planet Smith, look forward to reading your written review, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. When I decide that it's not a beta test anymore.
Hey,
it's not even really a game, but I'll write a paragraph real quick.
A paragraph? Come on, 300 words.
He just explained like a whole story about it. So.
I was doing math, man. Didn't you see my curve and spectral geometry and nonsense? Come on. That'll be.
What else have you been playing?
Oh God, I played a little bit of Stationeers. Kind of was getting tired of that, so I finished working on my habitat. I decided to continue building my air supply in the game, but I connected it to my furnace. And
Air Supply, like the band?
No, Air Supply is like. But
thanks for the audio effect. That totally helped.
No problem. I figured there was too much of it last time, so I just added it this time.
Yeah, Kevin will appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. But no. So there's a lot of balances that happen in this game, and I was conditioning my air down to probably roughly about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and I connected my furnace to it, and when I emptied the air out of my furnace, it dramatically rose the temperature of the air from probably 70 degrees to over 3,000 degrees and blew up my habitat.
Nice.
And which then I had to go make new foundations, go repair them, replant my crops, refill the air and rebalance all of the air and recondition all of the air. It was a mess. It took me about 3 hours to do all of it. But okay. After that, I was like, yeah, no, I think I'm going to break from this game a little bit. And so I went on a search for a new game, in which then I found the other one. Sulfur is a extraction shooter roguelike, very cartoonish. All of the enemies, all the people that you talk to are 2D representations on a 3D background. And so all of the characters look very, very funny. No matter where you walk, they're always staring at you, which leads to some interesting happenings. But the game is fun. The weapons have almost unlimited customability. You can put sniper rifle scopes on pistols. You can put crazy long barrels onto really short submachine guns, and just make the guns look crazy and however you want them to look. There's weird enchantments that you can put on them. They cause fire, poison, electrical damage. Some of them shoot rockets. So yeah, it however you want to play the game is how it allows you to play. There's enough armor and different things in the game that allow you to change how fast you move, how many jumps you have, how long you can live, how much armor you have, or any of that kind of stuff. So right now I'm running around with a submachine gun that shoots 2 or 3 bullets at a time, 800 bullets per minute, and it just obliterates everything in front of me. But the downside is the more attachments, the more magic stuff you have on your weapons, the faster they degrade. So while I am blowing things away, I'm constantly repairing this gun to make sure that I can make it actually through the level to get out with the stuff that I found. So there's a small balancing act that you're trying to do between, you want a strong weapon, but you want the weapon to survive. And so it's just a constant, well, if I use this gun, I might not make it past the boss. If I don't use this gun, I might not make it to the boss. And, I don't want to make the weapon too strong because then it'll degrade too fast. If I don't make it strong enough, I won't make it through the level. So,
Sounds like Breath of the Wild, but
yeah,
at
I
least
was
in Breath
just
of the Wild,
going
you
to
have a
say
stockpile.
that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's also one of the your inventory is the grid. So when you pick up a weapon, the weapon is like 2x3 or 2x2 or 2x5.
Like Resident Evil 4.
Yes.
Is what reminds me.
And so
of,
you have to like jumble them around and flip flop them and whatever. But it's still a relatively new game, and I accidentally deleted an item from my inventory because, excuse me, I wanted to equip a new weapon. I made sure that there was enough room in my inventory for that weapon. But when I equipped the weapon previously, I equipped it in a vertical 2x3 area, and I was equipping it or trying to make it fit into a 2x3 horizontal area, and it didn't work. It decided to force itself into a vertical location, and the two blocks that it took over that had items in it were just gone, just obliterated.
Oh,
just whatever. So that's a
hard lesson to learn.
That definitely some feedback that I'm going to have to send to the developer.
Report, please.
Yeah.
Yes. we definitely want reports like that for sure.
Oh, another big report there's two reports that I have to send because I'll send one report. I won't send multiple, but in the report I have the item deletion. When you go to, for some reason, when you go into options and you go to the display settings, the screen goes black. Just pure black. There's sound, but there's no visuals. And then after about 30 seconds or so, the visuals come back and allow you to do stuff in options. But then even when you back out of those options and your cursor goes back on display, the screen goes black again. At no other point in the game does the screen go black unless you're messing with the display button, which is so weird to me because it's just the button. It's nothing else. It's nothing in the menu. It's nothing anywhere else. It's just that button. And then if you play for too long and you save and exit the game crashes. It still saves, but it crashes.
Interesting.
So,
I recommend people check out the trailer for this, Sulfur, Sulfur, because I watched the trailer before we recorded, and I was like, what are you playing, Jacob? This is a weird-looking game. Like, I just could not... And then you were explaining it to me, what kind of game it was. As I was watching the trailer, I was like, okay, I can see it now. But, like, when you first... I was like, this is not like a Jacob game at all until you explain what it was. So it's definitely a Jacob game.
Apparently, where you shoot the enemies in the body depends on what parts they drop. So as a sellable item, and you can get currency like normal money, gold or whatever, but like you get things to sell. But there's not a lot of in-world items to sell other than guns and armor. And so the enemies drop organs. But you only get the organs if you shoot them in certain spots. So if you shoot them in the head, you could get a brain. If you shoot them in the face, you can drop a tongue. I shot somebody I missed my shot completely, but I still hit him, and I hit him in the hip, and I got a spleen. Okay, so this is fun, but yeah, it's just a wacky game.
Now I gotta play it.
It's especially wacky when you look at the characters and they're all two-dimensional sprites that are like a flat piece of paper, but I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So
that's how they walk at you. It's just
there is a trailer for that in the show notes of this episode. I highly recommend you guys check it out. It's a crazy looking game, and I kind of want to play it now. So is that on PC only?
Yeah, but it works on Steam Deck.
All right, that's all I needed to know, man. As for me, still chugging along at Balatro. I had kind of a dry spell this week. I didn't have a win this week, but I decided to go a different route and try some easier stuff instead of trying too difficult. I decided I didn't have enough games that I was in the middle of playing, so I decided to do what any gamer does and fire up a new one. Zach had talked about playing Darksiders 2 recently, and it made me think, man, I really want to go back and play the original Darksiders because if you remember, it's like Zelda with demons. And I started it up. It's been a while since I played it, and I completely forgot the setting of this. I did not remember it took place in modern times. Like you're going around like a metropolitan city or whatever. I did not remember that. I love that dichotomy of demons in the real world. It's kind of cool. So I haven't got to the Zelda-y stuff yet. It's still very early on. I'm kind of I don't love the combat too much. I'm thinking of me, but I just wanted to get in and get a refresher, but I think I'll hop back into it. The other big one this week is I got a platinum trophy, man. I don't remember the last time I got a platinum. but I got that on Astrobot.
Yay! Oh.
Astrobot is a fantastic game.
I mean, Astrobot it looks like a fantastic game.
It does look amazing.
It is so good. I'm going to write the review this week. Spoiler alert, it's going to have very high marks for me. I'm struggling to come up with anything wrong with this game. It's beautiful. I can't believe you haven't played it yet, man. Especially Zach or Jacob, you love Mario 64 so much, and you like got that 100%.
Yeah.
This is like
oh yeah,
a way better Mario 64.
It's right up my alley.
Yeah.
I've been waiting to play it, but
do they make a physical version of this, or is it digital only? I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't care.
But
I'll
anyway.
download it to 5. It'll be fine.
But yeah, highly recommend that game. It's going to be in my top 10. There's no way that game is not going to be in my top 10. So Astrobot is absolutely fantastic. I did start the DLC. I was like, oh, there's DLC for it. That's free, by the way. And I'm going to just go through and get all those trophies as well. Get me another quick platinum. Guess what they do with the DLC ones?
No platinum.
No, I don't know about that. But what they do is...
Do not look.
There, because in the games you have to collect these bots, right?
Okay.
And so the way that they do this is they do, and you're gonna know exactly why I'm frustrated, Jacob, is they do time trials. So in order to get the bots, there are 2 bots in each level, and you get those bots based on there's like these little birds that are flying through the level with you that are almost like ghosts, like if you were doing like a racing game, and if you beat the bird to the flagpole essentially, then you get that bot. If the bird beats you, you get nothing. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, I'm out. I do not need
of course
those bots anymore. If you're going to time trial me, I am not interested whatsoever. You give me those super hard ones, that's fine.
Okay,
I am not.
No DLC.
Got
Got
it. I'm not doing the DLC. Sorry.
Okay.
That's
the last
gonna be
time
my negative. That's my negative on my review.
Time trials.
I found one.
I was gonna say the last time trials I actually did were on Crash Bandicoot Warped.
Yes, that was my favorite though. Like they changed up the level to make it more difficult, but it was just amazing to like play through. And I don't know, that was the GOAT right there.
That's another game to cross off my list of games I'll ever play. Okay, got it. Fair enough.
Well,
all right, let's go ahead. I'm not good at them. I'm not going to play games I'm not good at. Dude. I'm not going to do it. Let's go ahead now and jump into the week's news. First off, got a couple trailers to talk about. This game called Sprawl is coming to Xbox and PlayStation later this month. It looks really cool. Caravan 66, the descriptor on this one said, Twisted Metal if it were a roguelike. It's coming to Steam 2025. And Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, this game has been known for quite a while, but they got an extended gameplay trailer, something like 15 minutes long. That game is obviously coming out on December 9th on Xbox and PC, and then sometime next year on PlayStation.
It's just him sitting there with the bag and the statue, like getting ready to swap it, but he's just waiting there the entire time.
That's the entire 15 minutes.
That's the entire 15 minutes.
Also, Nintendo confirmed that the Switch successor will have backwards compatibility. Macaulay Culkin will be in Season 2 of Amazon's Fallout series. Yes, that Macaulay Culkin, as if there were another. By the way, did you know he changed his name to Macaulay Culkin?
I saw that. I thought it was a joke, but...
I did too. He literally changed his name.
Why?
Halo 2 turned 20 years old this week, and Microsoft celebrated in a pretty interesting way. Death Stranding Shadow launched on Xbox this week, and lastly, Mass Effect is getting a series on Amazon as well. That's actually the freshest of the news. Jonathan, you are our guest. Which story would you like to talk about?
I actually want to go into the Season 2 of Amazon's Fallout series.
All right. We can kind of couple those in together, actually. But yeah, start with Fallout.
Yeah. I actually enjoyed Season 1 of Fallout. I think they did a perfect mix of bringing in-game lore into Fallout and then also bringing it to this big screen, because there was a lot of controversies with how Halo approached their seasons, and they just threw the lore out the window and said, we're just going to make a Halo TV just for the sake of Halo being Halo. Fallout, they did their homework.
The makers of that show literally told the people making it, do not play the game. That was my
Yeah.
first red flag. You're telling the showrunners are telling the makers of this to not play the games. What are you doing?
Yeah. Seriously.
Anyway.
Yeah. And then when I remember watching some behind the scenes stuff, had Todd Howard go on set, and he was basically like looking at a lot of the papers and stuff. They were all like typed out and like as if they were in the Fallout universe. Like every single detail. They had manuscript on nuclear reactors, what to do in the fallout shelter. Even though the actual screen, like you're not gonna see this stuff, but they went above and beyond. Like these are people working on set, and I was just like, wow, that's how you do a game to TV adaptation for sure.
And that's the fun part about that show too, is just you're watching it. If you're a hardcore fan of the Fallout series, like I am, you're gonna recognize little things like here and there, like the stim packs, and there's a mini nuke in this, there's all this stuff, but it's also very accessible to people that have never watched the show. You're not going to miss out if you haven't watched the show, but you're definitely going to get rewarded if you do.
Mm-hmm. And then especially the amount of YouTube videos out there of people taking the TV series and putting it into like Fallout dialogue and saying like, oh, is she gonna use the weapon or she's gonna pull it away, and it just fit right into like how Fallout would do. And it's just like, I don't know, super excited for season 2. Definitely being a new edition cast it's gonna be like, well, what is their role gonna be, sort of deal. It's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah, well, Deadline said that he's going to be playing a crazy genius type character. That could be. I'm trying to think of a crazy genius type character from the games. So I'm assuming this is going to be something fresh, which is totally fine. I mean, every character was fresh, right?
House.
Yes.
House. Oh, from Fallout New Vegas. Well, yeah, because Fallout New Vegas, that was like, yeah.
Well, he was a billionaire that was basically, I believe, trapped inside of a glass, like his brain was. I can't recall exactly. Yeah, yes. And I think that could be along with Mad Scientist. I don't think they're going to exactly replicate New Vegas, but it would be interesting to see some bits of it like mixed into the series.
Well, we know they're going to Vegas because of the final shot in the show, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
So
House was a super rich dude, but he was in tune with like world economy and stuff, and so he saw like what Vault was doing, and he saw the war was coming, and so he made shields to shield Vegas from any kind of nuclear fallout stuff. And so when the bombs dropped, he had this, these shields over New Vegas, and then he put his body into like a time capsule thing that like fed him, kept him nutrition, and neutralized, whatever. It kept him fed. It kept him water.
Nutritionized?
Yes, that word. Those words in that order. Anyway,
I don't know if it's a word.
But when you, I just coined it. Thank you. But when you find him, when you find his body, he's this shriveled old man in this capsule, but he was trying to get the chip to put it in the Securitrons to make them even more menacing than what they were, so he could keep control of the strip.
Oh, interesting. I think they should bring that character back. I think that should be a thing. That'd be awesome.
I'm gonna eat him again.
You ate him?
If you take Cannibal and you eat Caesar, House, and the king, the Elvis impersonator guy, you get Taste of Kings, and it increases what the cannibal trait does.
Wow. I've never gone cannibal in Fallout.
No, I never thought of doing that. No.
Can't say I've done that, no. Well, Culkin himself confirmed on Instagram that this is happening. We don't have even a release window for Season 2 yet, but I think we're all for it. That show was great.
You mean Culkin?
Culkin, I'm sorry. I got to call him by his full last name. And while we're talking about Amazon, we should talk about the Mass Effect series as well. This is in development at Amazon MGM Studios. Daniel Casey is writing and will executive produce. This is first updates in 2 years, and exact details are still under wraps. More or less, this story is that it is happening. And as happy as I am for this, I know I've not played Mass Effect. I know I get a lot of people mad at me about that, so I don't have any inkling of what it should be or what it shouldn't be.
Well,
the
one
ahead.
thing for sure is they need to have a shepherd that can lead the frontier. Normandy has to be the ship in the TV series. That's the only two thing. That's the only two thing that makes Mass Effect
needs
right
to be
there.
Shepard.
Yes.
But what's Shepard?
Shepard
Male
is
Shepard or fem Shep?
Oh, that is a good question. And I think and to be honest, the main character was always portrayed as male in the first iteration. So
like on the box art and stuff. You mean?
Yes,
right?
on the box art. Yeah, it was like mostly presented as the male protagonist or antagonist, however you played it, for sure. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a female Shepard, even if they bring it together as for one segment or two. But yeah.
Isn't that game also based on like you said, you can kind of build your character, so you can go, what is that, Renegade or Paragon?
Yes, Paragon and Renegade. So basically, it was one of the more popular choice-based in terms of like story development. So if you decide to save, now I'm trying to remember the the characters again. It's been a while since I played. But if you decide to save a character, another character might die in the future, or in the very end, all the decisions you've made leading up to that matters, and it ends up changing your story, so you'll have a different ending than some of the other players that would play the game. And the whole point of Paragon and Renegade was, well, if you end up helping people, your Paragon meter goes up, so you'll unlock more more of a protagonist sort of skill set, versus going Renegade, you'll have more like deadly skill sets, and you'll basically be the bad guy of the story. So you shape the story to how you want, and that was from the leap was going from Mass Effect 1 to 2. All your progress would carry over. The characters you saved, that would carry over, and then going on to 3, that was the leap of like, oh man, you could take a game save file from part 1 and bring it all the way to part 3. It was game changing as far as when I played it back in the days. Obviously, the ending of 3 was very controversial.
Yeah, it was.
You had people saying that, all endings led to one final ending, so your choices didn't matter. But I think the progress and how we got to Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 made it all worth it. Whether or not we had only 3 endings or 27, it really was the experience that was really the joy of Mass Effect.
Well, I think you guys are both right, though, that if Andromeda taught them anything, they should definitely stick with Shepard. But the question I have for you, being such a fan, is do you want them to do what they did with Fallout and follow that same universe with its own story? Or would you rather they rehash the actual story of Mass Effect, starting with Mass Effect 1, working its way through?
You know, in all honesty, I think that's going to be one of the struggles, right? Bringing back nostalgia to a TV will end up, it could lead to a very negative point of view, because they were like, oh, Shepard would never do this, or Shepard would never do that.
My Shepard would never do this.
Yeah, my Shepard, that would be the big like story, and determine on, well, I don't like the TV series because they did this wrong. And so I think what Fallout did very well was, well, they picked the vault that was not actually used in the games, I believe, and sort of linked it together with other bits of lore in the Fallout universe. So if Mass Effect were to do it, as much as I love the name Shepard, it might have to be a different name, and a Shepard leader and what he's done could be portrayed, and you can cross-link some of that, like some of the characters over, just so we can actually get that nostalgia, but not for the whole entire series. That's
an interesting perspective, because everyone else I hear talk about it is like, it has to be Shepard. It's got to be Shepard. The name Shepard is so synonymous with Mass Effect, but yeah, you're a hardcore fan and you want a completely new character.
Yes, definitely.
Well, that brings up a good question too, because just like you were saying, like my Shepard wouldn't do that. If you're trying to bring nostalgia back to it, and you have like the first segments of the game recreated, and then you get the option of choice, and then you immediately go, we're going to go tell this story right now. Someone else went to a completely different story. You're not going to have that pull. Like, I remember the story going this way. Well, I don't remember that. Well, now I don't. Well, okay. Well, no. Okay. Maybe. Yeah. It's just going to be a mess. It's going to be a convoluted struggle of which side quest do we do first versus just doing the main quest, or, we went and did this character or saw that one first. Like, it's just a mess with all the storylines that you could actually have in there.
It's a Mass Effect. Guys, I
Not
have a great
funny.
idea.
Not funny.
That was good. It took me a sec. That was good.
I have a great idea. They
You
do
lost it.
They do 2 seasons at the exact same time. This season over here is Paragon. This season over here is Renegade. They tell the same story, but one with Shepard going this way and one with Shepard going that way. Or not necessarily at the same time, but they film them at the same time, but they release them like the same story, but now we're doing it with him being Renegade as opposed to Paragon.
That's hard.
What was it? Defiance years ago, where they had the viewers vote on how the story was going to go.
Oh, you could do that too. If you do that though, everybody's going to vote Paragon, right?
No,
You don't think so?
No, everyone Renegade.
some people like kicking the dog.
Yes.
That's what I want to see though in a game like this with these stories where you have so many choices. Is I want there to be an element of choice, not necessarily a choice that I'm making, but I want there to be two. I just think the idea of having 2 different seasons of 2 different stories would be super fun, man. I think that'd be really cool.
Or they would take 2 different characters and that would be portrayed as that. So it could be 2 main characters that collide and their decisions will be like, oh, this person is the Renegade and this person is Paragon. Okay. And you get a bit of what that person would have done had it been like a visualization of something. I think
so. You have male Shep be Renegade and femme Shep be Paragon, or vice versa, one of the 2. Yes. That would be interesting. That way you get both male and female.
Yeah.
And then they converge at the end. Oh! We have a pretty good idea, guys. We have a good idea.
Maybe we should write our own story.
We should write our own story. Get Zach involved. He's a good writer. Jake, what story do you want to talk about, man?
Oh God, I had it there and I looked away. Let's talk about Halo 2.
This is a cool story.
I do like this story. I do like this idea because it was a, what is that? A 9-minute mission that was only a test demo way back when the first one was coming out, and now it's huge. Halo is huge and almost like a household name, a recognizable icon in the gaming community, and something that no one outside of the development teams have ever done before. Play this test demo like they're allowing people to now play it. It's just it's going to be huge for people that have been there for the entire ride, or people who have seen this in action. Because I know I didn't see this in action. But like, if Halo is a huge love of yours and you saw this might be some like next level. This
is huge for the Halo community, because when they dropped this thing, this was the first look at Halo 2, excuse me. And like you said, they showed this at E3 in 2003, and it was awesome. It took place like on Earth, which, Halo doesn't take place on Earth.
No.
And so they showed that, and it had this really cool finale where like he's on a bridge with a bunch of the enemies, and Cortana says something like, I can't remember the line now, but he says something about $10 says you can't stick it or something, and he's like, you're on, and then it just fades to black. That was like a very huge moment for Halo fans, and they never got to play it. And now that the game is 20 years old, Microsoft said, we're going to add that. So they announced this week that the demo is finally in a playable state and available with the Master Chief Collection on Steam via a mod. I don't know if it's going to be available on console. That would be a bummer if you couldn't play it on Xbox.
If they allow modding, if they have some kind of modding service that they go through for their games, it's probably be on there as a mod.
And who knows, by the time I'm even saying this, maybe that's happened. I just haven't read about it yet. Apparently, they also updated several of the multiplayer maps from the original game. This is just such a cool story. What a cool thing to do for hardcore fans of Halo. Yeah. This is great. So,
well, we need more of this in the gaming, not just community, but the industry itself, because there's not callbacks to like anything like this. There's a small celebration, but like this is huge. This is huge for their players.
Yeah, I think fan service goes a long way in how we grew up, and I think for me, I started in Halo 3, but then even seeing this come out, it's just like, wow, like it's showing another step that the company is actually caring about the fans, which is, in my opinion, that's the biggest thing you look for when you play a video game and you invest all your time into it, and they do something extra above and beyond that connects me more with them. So.
Yeah.
And I have very fond memories of Halo 2. That is one of the few times I stood in line at GameStop at midnight, talking with everybody. Dude, I miss that so much. I just like knowing you're amongst people and sharing experiences from playing the last one and, swapping gamer tags so that when you get home, you know what I mean? I mean, now we got phones, you can just add it right there, but you had to like write it down on a piece of paper or something like that. And I don't know, it was just awesome. Walking out of the store with your copies in, happy hunting, boys, and stuff. Oh, it's just good time. So yeah, that was really cool on those guys for doing that. I want to talk about this Nintendo story. I feel like all the Nintendo stories land on me. Nobody wants to talk about Nintendo, so I always yeah. But this is a small item, but it still feels like big news to me, because it was made official that whatever the Switch successor is going to be called is going to have backwards compatibility. This is something that Nintendo fans have wanted and asked for, which is crazy because I don't know that how many people play last-gen games on their current console, but at the same time, it feels good that you're not going to have to worry about jumping into the Switch 2 right away. I think that's a big reason why they do this, is because they don't want people to go, I'm going to hang on to my Switch. No, I want to buy the new one because I know everything I've got I can still play over there, and it's going to make people not think twice about buying a Switch.
Yeah, but this should be a staple in the industry. It shouldn't be a question if it's backwards compatible or not. You should be able to take the software should be the same enough that you take the old stuff and put it on the new stuff. It shouldn't be that hard.
Well, I don't know anything about game development. This is where Jonathan might be a better person to answer this.
I got this. Okay, so there are different scenarios, and you're right. Like nowadays, files copy paste over, work on a new console. A lot of the internal engine, or I would say like a platform, it's just like a software that boots up. You have a Windows computer, and they take that Windows computer and port it to a new console. The devices on it is what makes it different. Be able to run 1080p instead of 720. But when it comes to video games, obviously certain games are natively set for 720, and bringing that to 1080 does not look right. So when it comes to, yes, it can work in today's age. But back in the days, it was very much a hassle because a lot of game developers made their own engines, and starting from scratch, that was the challenge, to bring it into another console. It's just like you're updating a whole entire engine, much like you would be updating an operating system. So in reality, yes, Switch 1 going into Switch 2, the files and everything should be more compatible, given that the software nowadays, it's made it easier. Like there's no excuse for it. But I do know that a fair amount of people have proven that emulators have garnered a way to say that there is no excuse, which is true. But there is a fine line. It depends on the engine that it was made with, and I guess the developers, if they're active or inactive. So
interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna read the quote from President Shuntaro Furukawa. He said, in addition to being able to play Nintendo Switch software they currently own, consumers will be able to choose their next purchase from a broad selection of titles released for Nintendo Switch. Further information about the successor to Nintendo Switch, including its compatibility with Nintendo Switch I explained today, will be announced at a later date. What was interesting to me is that Nintendo's stock went up significantly after this announcement, which was good because they actually had a pretty big drop last week. So the talk of the town is that this means that the Nintendo hardware will be a less risky venture and more of a continuation of what's already working with the Switch. I'm curious what you guys think about that, because Nintendo has been known to innovate both on the hardware and software side. Do we want to see them do something different with this, or do we just want a better Switch?
I think the majority have been very accustomed to the Switch itself, that trying to innovate might actually harm more than do good. I think, what was it? When we went into Wii U and all of a sudden things changed, it kind of put the consumers down. So if anything, right now we're in a comfortable state that Switch 1 and Switch 2 should feel like an upgrade, like going up to a Pro. But I definitely think innovating with a new console requires like a new branding and then having to market that. It's a whole new challenge. But
So don't call it the Switch U, is what you're saying?
Yeah, don't call it the Switch U for sure, because then everyone's going back to the Switch and saying, no,
The
we're not
switcheroo?
handling this.
Oh,
Yes.
oh no! Stop it.
If they got, I'm still holding on to that. If they got those magnetic Joy-Cons, it should be the Nintendo Snap.
Stop. No, I think they've got something with the Switch, but no, I think if they change it up too
Super
much, go that I could live with that, a Super Switch. That
Yeah.
would be
Oh, yeah.
that would be a good name. But when you go from like the Nintendo GameCube to the Wii, that was not so much in hardware, but in the controls of the game that you were playing. It was a
Yeah.
huge switch.
Do
Ah,
you want
But-
that big of a Switch going to the Switch 2, though?
no, probably not. No, everything is in the handles. You've got, your Joy-Cons are the gyros are in there. They've got the ultraviolet sensors in the controllers. Everything that you could possibly want in a controller or that they've had beforehand is in the Joy-Cons already. They don't need to add anything more. It doesn't need to look any differently. They've got a good style. It looks nice. It's compact. It works on a TV. It works outside. It just works. And for them to go through the hassle of trying to change it and come up with something new, I feel like if they screwed it up, it would be a big screw up. Like actually
Yeah.
damaging.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Nintendo products have gone every other cycle super successful. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the Wii was
Wii
arguably
U.
Wii U.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's a
Um,
meme for sure.
Yeah. So
Wii
the one thing I
U.
could say they could change, I don't know how you do it, but make those Joy-Cons a little bit easier to control for us people with large hands. Jacob, we were playing Boomerang Fu a couple weekends ago, right?
Yeah.
And like holding that thing. Now, granted, that's a pretty easy game to control, but I don't want to play Mario Kart with that.
I played Smash like that, and it's just fine. But
Okay, never mind then. Shut my mouth.
we need a big Joy-Con.
A Duke.
Like I want to know when this thing locks and just kunk.
So here's the thing about Switch in terms of actually consoles in general. Like I am of the three console generations right now, Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox. I don't know anything about whatever the next Xbox is. I don't know anything about what the next PlayStation is. But at this point, I don't care what the other two are. Nintendo is the only one that I'm like, yeah, I'm good with buying that one. Even though I don't know what it is yet, but in my brain, I'm like, I have to have the next Switch. I'm okay with my current Xbox. I'm okay with my current PS5. I feel like both of those consoles aren't being utilized to their fullest, whereas I feel like the Switch has room to grow. You know what I mean? There's more you can do graphically, and I'm actually pretty okay with my Switch as it is too, but I could definitely use an upgrade on that. But that's if all three were available next month, I would be buying the Nintendo and resting on Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah.
But that's me. So anyway, that is the week's news. Lots of interesting things to talk about. Before we move on to the new games we've been playing, I want to remind everybody about Patreon. If you like this show and would like to support us, we really could use the help over at patreon.com/thegocast. You can subscribe there for as little as $1 a month, which will get you the episodes one day earlier than everybody else. And at the higher tiers, $3 and $5, you can get 1 or 2 episodes, bonus episodes, respectively, For instance, Jacob and Zach and I recorded a Desert Islands game episode last month. You can check that out. I did a episode with my wife called Married to the Mic. She got to talk to our audience about what it's like being married to a podcaster and her gaming experience. It was a lot of fun.
And vacuuming.
She did talk about vacuuming. I found out that she vacuums on purpose while I'm podcasting to get under my skin. I thought I was just making that up the entire time. But anyway, in November, Zach is going to be doing a Married to the Mic episode with his partner, and we got other episodes as well. And yes, our $5 tier people, we still owe you a second episode for the month of October. I promise you that will come this month. But if you'd like to check out any of those episodes, head over to patreon.com/thegocast. Every dime that we collect from you guys goes towards the Gaming Outsider. We do not pay ourselves a dime. It goes towards paying for the costs of the show, as well as occasionally purchasing copies of games that we review and then turn around and give back to the community. So again, nothing goes to us. It's all for the community, and we do appreciate it. Again, patreon.com/thegocast. With that,
You make it sound like we're embezzling money.
well, I just want people to know.
What are you doing? I'm
not
embezzling.
You're not paying us. I'm not asking you for money to put money in my own pocket. Everything we do is for the community. We don't make money off of this show ourselves, is basically what I'm trying to say. Even R2V2. Nobody gets paid for R2V2, as Jacob reminds me every year. He does not get paid. We do all that work for free just because we want to do something awesome for the community, and the same goes for Patreon.
I only say something because I'm the financer. The finance guy. Financier. No.
He keeps track of our books, and he does a stellar job. By the way, when you get those receipts in, man, just saying. With that, we're going to go ahead and talk about the new games we've been playing. Got some new trailers to talk about. A little shorter list this week. Medieval Apocalypse on PC, coming out November 15th. Tricky Madness on PC, November 15th. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, coming to PC and Xbox on November 19th. Towers of Agazba, if I pronounced that correctly, PC and PS5, November 19th. Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. That's getting a lot of positive. That is not a typo. I looked at 3 different places. That is Chernobyl, not Chernobyl. I know you're looking at me funny, but Xbox and PC, November 20th. Genshin Impact is making its way over to Xbox on November 20th. Divine Dynamo Flamefrit, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, PC, November 21st. Electrogical?
Yeah.
Puzzle game on PC, November 21st. And IHAS, IHAS, PC, November 21st. Gotta admit, not a lot tripping my trigger this week, but if I had to choose one, probably that puzzle game, Electrogical. I think it looks kind of interesting and clever, but I'm going to be honest, I'm probably not going to have time to play it. But what about you guys? Anything on here get you excited to play this week? How about you, Jacob?
Oh, Jonathan, you
yeah,
you
sorry,
had an idea first. Wow.
Yes. No, sorry.
Nicely done, Scott.
I mean, Genshin Impact, but it just brings me back to the times that I played first, and when I actually almost reached the end game for what it had when it released. It was already a lot of content for being a free-to-play game, and I was just blown away. And I know it's been years since it's been out, so man, just hearing that name, I'm like, man, maybe I should get back into that game because
get you some achievements, man.
Yes, lots of value in that game. So
all right, Jacob, how about you?
Stalker 2 actually looks really good. Running around collecting stuff. I don't know how it's going to come down to how they handle themselves with death and respawning and whatever, because if it's the other games, or not other Stalker games, but other games of the same genre where you have to completely start over again, I'm not going to be down for that. But I'm playing a game right now that when you die you have to completely start over, but it's not the same idea per se.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know, that one looks good. But Towers of Agazba, or however you pronounce that, also looks good. But I'm more of a survival crafting kind of person, so.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, moving on to new games. The three of us have not played anything brand new this week, but rest assured, I do have some reviews for you. Both Alyssa and Mark stopped by to talk about a couple games they've been playing. We're going to check those out right now. Well, hello there, Alyssa. How are you doing today?
Hello, Scott. I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. You're here to talk to us about a game called Back Then, which you're playing on PS5. I believe it's only PS5 and PC, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct, yes.
This one comes from Octopus Embrace. Great developer name. Love that.
It is. I love it.
And it's also published by them, and it was provided to us by Jesus Fabre. That's a PR rep there. This game is $14.99. I'm intrigued, but also cautiously optimistic after reading a review about this game. What can you tell us about Back Then?
So Back Then deals with Alzheimer's, and you're playing as a man with Alzheimer's named Thomas, and he's a writer. And one day his typewriter breaks, so you're tasked with going around the house trying to find parts to fix it. But since he has Alzheimer's, everything's kind of confused, and he starts to hear the voices of his loved ones, and he has to solve puzzles to progress the story. And that's pretty much all you're doing.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, in your written review, which people can see on thegamingonsutter.com, you're in a wheelchair, right?
Yes, he's wheelchair bound, and you find out how he came to be that way through one particular story.
Okay. And so you're just rolling around the house, but in review it sounded like it was a little frustrating to navigate from place to place. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. I would find myself stuck on items in the environment a lot because you have to look where you're going, because I would be going, I'd get stuck, and there would be something on a shelf just sticking out, and I'm stuck on it. When I thought I could just pass by it, or there would be a rug that was crumpled and I was stuck on the wrinkle in the rug. So I was having to look at the floor and the sides of the walls a lot as Thomas, which kind of put a damper on things.
Gotcha. I also read in your review that some of the puzzles are geared towards making or trying to make you understand what it's like to have Alzheimer's. Can you explain what that means?
They are, and some players it's not going to be for you, because even I found myself growing kind of frustrated with them because they become really monotonous. But that's also associated with Alzheimer's, having thoughts that loop and things just they stay the same for that person, but other people don't see it that way. And also the frustration, I think, is part and parcel with it. So you are, for the most part with the puzzles, going through mazes and trying to find pieces of a poem or finding cogs, but you're having to go through this maze over and over again, going different routes, trying to find all these pieces.
But it's done intentionally so.
I think it is done intentionally, yes.
Okay. Is the story good, though? Do you find yourself, by the end of it, satisfied with what happened narratively?
I liked hearing his loved ones' thoughts about him and how they dealt with certain events. So hearing the stories really pushed me to keep going. And the ending at first confused me, but then I understood the ending. I don't want to spoil it, but it's satisfying, yes.
Okay. Do you recommend people check out Back Then on PS5?
If it sounds interesting to you and you don't mind, monotonous puzzles, I'd say definitely check it out, because it does give you a look inside the mind of someone with Alzheimer's. Of course, it's not, a full deep dive or anything, but it does give you a bit of an insight into it.
Sounds good. Well, Alyssa, thanks for checking that out. Again, it's Back Then on PS5 and PS5 and PC. If you'd like to check it out, it's only $14.99. How long did you say it was? Just in an hour?
Yeah, about an hour. I think it took me a little over an hour to finish.
Wow, that's very, very short. Especially when it's got some monotonous puzzles that make you do things over and over and over again. That's really
it's really short.
Surprising how short it is. All right, well, Alyssa, thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you next time, okay?
Okay.
Later. What's up, Mark? How's it going?
It's going good, Scott. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. You must be pretty well. Your Lions did okay last night. Squeaked one out there.
I wouldn't say they did okay last night. They won the game.
Yeah. Well, we're not here to talk about football. We're here to talk about Neo Harbor Rescue Squad, which you're playing on PS5. This game, if I'm not mistaken, is also available on PS4 and PC. Is that correct?
That sounds correct to me, yes.
It comes from developer, publisher, is it Bancy Co. or Banky Co.? It's like fancy with a B. Bancy Co.?
I'll take it.
We don't know. And it was provided to us by Evolve PR for coverage purposes. So, Mark, I want to talk about this because I was surprised that you wanted to play this one and not CB, seeing how he is he is an EMT for a living. I thought that this had been something he was interested in, but this looks kind of like an EMT firefighter simulator type game with some dialogue choices. What's going on with this one?
Mostly correct there. So besides the dialogue choices, there's very minimal. There's a few of them, but not too many. You are a rookie and you're starting your day there at the rescue squad, and you go right out into the job and you start saving people, and you save people and you save more people. Lots of saving.
How do you save people?
Okay,
what do you do to save people?
It's like a mini game. Each way to save them is a mini game. So one of them, you have to stop a bloody nose, for instance. And on the screen, the hand waves back and forth on the screen, and you have to hit the button at the right time to make them pinch the nose. And then it goes to the next part where you have to shove gauze up their nose. And so you have to line up the gauze pad and then tap your button, and it jams it in there. Some of the other saving games are button mashers. Some of them are precision, like you can't go too fast, you can't go too slow, you can't bump the sides when you're moving the cursor around. Like you're
Operation.
Yeah, kind of like Operation, exactly. You're removing something that's lodged in somebody's throat, and if you hit the side of their throat, you drop the thing back down it, and they could probably die.
So it looks, I mean, just looking at the trailer, some of the mini games look very quick, like almost WarioWare-esque, where you don't have a whole lot of time to figure it out. You just kind of figure it out on the fly, do this quick thing, and move on to the next one. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right, but there are so many patients, victims, whatever word you want to choose, lined up in each part that it takes about 3 or 4 minutes to get through each challenge, for lack of a better word.
Oh, wow.
But yes, the individual patients themselves, the segments where you're saving them, they might take 10 seconds, 15 maybe, but most patients have 2 or 3 things that you have to do to save them. And then there's anywhere from 2 to 7 patients on every board.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I saw in the trailer was they talk about you like going up against your rivals. So there's like these other EMTs that are like the bad guys. How does that work? Because like, I mean, if you're all saving lives, how are they like bad guys? I don't know.
The bad guys, quote unquote, are the fire department, fire rescue.
Oh.
So you are the EMTs, they are fire. They are very arrogant. They're in it for the accolades, not to save people. You are set up to not like them at all, but you're also there to try to help improve the public's opinion of the rescue squad, as well as the fire department's opinion of you, because they're all arrogant. They think very little of the rescue squad. So you're also trying to improve your standing with them as well, so that they think of you as a teammate as opposed to an underling.
So is this fun?
It is fun. It is longer than it needs to be.
Okay.
And therefore it's repetitive. Like there's only so many different things you can do. So I'm finding myself injecting medicine into somebody's arm once every 10 minutes, or shoving the gauze up their nose, like I said, once every 10 minutes. So it's a lot of repetition on how you're saving them. It's a matter of timing, though. That's where the challenge lies, is you have to save people in a certain order, or you have to actually like help a patient with step 1 and then walk away from them to go help another patient who is closer to dying, because you've stabilized patient 1 well enough to where you can go over to patient 2 and save them from dying. And then you can go back and finish up what you left for patient number 1. So that's where the challenge actually lies. It's more than just the same repetitive medical procedure.
It becomes a management simulator as well. Like you got to manage which one needs the most help and prioritize. That sounds stressful.
It is a little bit stressful. It also doesn't make a lot of sense. And this might be where CV would be very judgy about this kind of a game, because there's some scenes where patient number 1 is unresponsive, and you know that one of the steps is to use the defibrillator, but patient number 2 has a bloody nose, and they're going to die first. So you got to go save the bloody nose first, because that's...
From a bloody nose?
Yeah. So
how do you know they're going to die first? Is it
because you can see their health meter going down faster and faster and faster.
That's funny. So you recommend people check out Neo Harbor Rescue Squad?
Oh, sure. It's a lot of fun. It's like I said, it kind of overstays its welcome, but the game itself is fun. There's little teeny things that you'll notice where the developers may have taken some shortcuts, where the same audio file Like, I'm sorry, Captain. The rookie will apologize to the captain, but it's tied to the rookie's facial expression, not to the situation. The captain's not even in the room, but because the rookie guy was disappointed, he says, "I'm sorry, Captain." So you can tell where they took some shortcuts on it, probably just to get their product across the finish line a little bit faster. But if you can ignore those things, if that doesn't take you out, it's a fun game. You want to win, you want to improve your public standing, you want to get into good graces of the fire department, and let's be honest, make the public like you more than the fire department. That's also part of your goal. It's fun. I kept wanting to play. I kept wanting to do well and win.
Sounds good. Again, it's Neo Harbor Rescue Squad on PlayStation 4 and 5 and on PC. You can and shout out to Evolve PR for hooking you up. Mark, as always, it's a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks for stopping by to talk about this one.
You're welcome. Thanks, Scott.
All right, we'll catch you next time.
Later.
Thank you very much to Mark and Alyssa. Always good to hear from both of them. Before we move on, I want to remind everybody about where you can follow us on social media. If you'd like to join our community, facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. You can find us out join the community there. Also, Discord. We got a great community over there. There's a link for that in the show notes. Also, do us a favor if you get a chance. Drop us a review wherever you listen to this episode. It helps us get the word out there. We are on Apple Podcasts. Drop us a review. We'll read it on the show if you do. And lastly, our website, thegamingoutsider.com. You can find all of our written content as well as all of our episodes. And those written reviews this week, we got caught up, did some catch-up this week. Joel's review of Predator Hunting Grounds is up, as well as Kyborg Arena. Alyssa's review of Two Falls and Back Then, which you just heard about. And Mark's review of Neo Harbor Rescue Squad should be up by the time you hear this episode as well. And like I mentioned, stay tuned for my review of Astrobot. That should be coming sooner than later. Now, it is time for us to jump into our From the Outside In topic. Since we have Jonathan, who develops mobile games as well as PC games, as our special guest this week, it seemed like a great opportunity to go back to talking about mobile games. I believe we did this years ago, but we haven't touched this topic in a while, especially with the new crew. So now that I've got Jacob here and Jonathan as our guest, I want to talk to you guys. What is your history when it comes to games on cell phones and tablets? Do you like to play on a device like that, or do you prefer to play on a console or a PC? Jonathan, let's start with you.
Well, to be completely fair, I have certain times where I just don't want to sit on a computer. I just want to lay in bed and play a game, and it just, I guess, feels like very situational. I think the last big mobile game I was hooked onto, I believe, was called Diablo Immortal, and that was just, oh my gosh, it filled everything that I was playing with Diablo 4, and then I was like, man, there was a lot of grind. Maybe I should just like lay in bed. But oh wait, Diablo Immortal, I could play that. And so very much get sucked right back into it. So like, but there are situations where just like, you know what, I need something that, you know, I want to push my PC to the limits, play like the high fidelity games. And I want to say, oh my gosh, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. Oh man, I could not stop playing those two games. But if I had to choose one, PC, I think as much I started making mobile game, PC is my go-to in terms of playing for sure.
Okay, Jacob, what about you?
Oh, I'm a gamer through and through. I can't play on mobile. That's gross. But I have 1-bit. I love 1-bit. So my phone experience with that is I wanted something that was on the go more than a Switch. Something that I can just pull out of my pocket, play it for maybe 15 minutes while I'm waiting for the doctors or something, or, you know, whatever. And it was weird. I think I brought this up at MGC. I was like, I made it sound bad because I ran into it and I was like, hey, it's 1-bit. Yeah, I play that game to go to sleep. Oh, no. I mean, I play that game while I'm trying to go to sleep. Like I use it as a wind down, not to fall. Like, no. It was just,
it's not as bad as that one person that came up and said, you know what, I like playing 1-bit while sitting on a toilet, and I was like, good to know.
Yeah, glad that we didn't shake hands.
Right.
Yes.
But no, I'm very much so a console person. Even when I decide to go lay down and like I don't want to sit at my chair anymore or my computer. I'll take my Switch and go lay in bed, and I've got a little stand for it off the controller, and I just kind of, right there,
okay.
and just play it right there in bed. 3 inches from my face because I need to have my blind, sensory organs. Max brightness.
Also known as eyeballs.
Yeah.
Your sensory organs.
Yeah. Well, there's other sensory organs, but I need those sensory organs blinded, even more than they already are. But yeah, no, I'll go play Smash in bed or something, or go at the sit with the family somewhere. But most of the time, you can find me in my chair, playing PC. Thanks, dyslexia. My PC or my PlayStation.
Yeah. My preferred place to play is on my couch in my basement, in front of my TV, with a blanket on my lap and a cat sitting there. That's where I like to play. For me, mobile gaming is a way for me to still play games when I'm away from my console and not able to use my console. Which is funny, because we live in a world now where I could literally play Xbox games on my phone. The problem is that I have not had great success with the what is that device called? I don't even remember. The Backbone.
Yeah,
I have a Backbone sitting around here somewhere, but they didn't work well with my case that I had. And I know Paul Hine mentioned there's some case that you can have that actually works with the Backbone. I was just so kind of over it at that point. So, I much prefer to play with a controller in my hand, on my couch, on a big screen TV. But mobile gaming is like what you were saying. Like if I'm somewhere away from my console and I need to kill some time, or I'm stuck in line, or I'm in a car ride or something like that, I'll play something on my phone, but it's definitely not my preferred way to play. Especially when it comes to, remember those games like where they would port platformers and things to mobile, but they would put like those buttons on the screen to do like Mega Man 2 was on iPhone. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to do this. I keep losing track of where it's awful. It was like, that is not a good way to play a game like that with precision. So yeah, it's basically a way for me to still be gaming when I can't be around my preferred way of gaming. That's just always want to be doing it. And then things like the Switch came out and the Steam Deck, so I've got more options. And if I'm on a car ride, I'm going to bring one of those with me. Or if I'm on a plane ride, I'm going to bring one of those with me. At least I don't have to be connected to the internet to play those games. A lot of mobile games I have to be connected to the internet, which makes it, even Nintendo, Mario. What was the Mario platformer? I can't remember what it's called. It's on my phone.
Wonder. Oh, the platformer.
No. The platformer
Super
that was
Mario Run or something like
Super
that.
Mario Run. Yeah,
Yes.
It was a clever way to make a mobile game on phone, and I played it just because it was a new Mario game that I had to try, and I would have much rather played those levels with a controller, but that was what I had. So interesting.
To be fair, you could connect a Bluetooth controller to your phone.
I can, but
it's just not the same.
It's
not
like
the same.
hunched over, like squinting at a screen where I'm playing I'm holding a controller that's literally larger than my phone. Just feels weird to me.
What was there was a Rocket League game that came out for the computer.
Sideswipe.
Yes, Sideswipe.
Yes.
I would sit in my dining room, like hunched over to the table with my controller connected to my phone, like just playing the game. But yeah,
hilarious.
like just like Gremlin style, and it just hunched over, just staring directly at the table.
So it's funny, we're having a topic about mobile games, and the three of us are pretty much in a consensus that we prefer console and PC.
For as much as I've made my game thinking mobile is the way to go, and then all of a sudden I'm just like, I actually play PC more. Why didn't I start PC? But
Well, to be fair, your game's on PC.
It is on
Yes.
Steam.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true, but it's still not 100% controller compatible. That's the hard part. So you still need mouse and keyboard for that.
So what kind of games
You just
do you
need
guys
the
like to
arrow
play on-
keys, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
What kind of games do you guys like to play on mobile, or what kind of games would you like to see more of?
So, where's my phone at? All right, hold on.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Like,
I've got three go-to games right now. One obviously being 1-bit.
Yes, for sure, better.
So I play 1-bit, I play Necromerger, and I play Endless Frontier.
I don't know either of those two.
So Necromerger is a merging game where you summon skeletons, bats, werewolves, that kind of stuff, and you have limited space, but you just merge them together, and then you feed a baby Cthulhu the things that you've merged together. And that's basically it, and the game just continues. Endless Frontier, you have about 6 or 7 units, and they go and they have to get across the screen to progress to the next area. And it's an idle game, so in the background there's these small quests being done that earn you gold, and then you use the gold to upgrade your troops to get farther across the screen faster. So, and then you go back and then you restart at 1, and it gives you different kind of points so you can upgrade them differently, or you unlock new people to fight differently. But either way, it's just an idle game. It's just a more complicated idle game.
All right. What about you, Jonathan?
So my phone, of course, 1-Bit Adventures on there. Dungeon Agreed is on there. Not released yet, but it's on there. I do have
this sounds biased.
Recent. I delete every other game except my own. No. My brother just told me about Pokemon trading card game, and that has been, I'm still trying to get into it, but it very is much for card game enthusiasts to collect Pokemon cards, and then you can battle friends. That's my most recent one. But the other one that I play a lot is with my daughters is Roblox, and I don't know how much you know about Roblox, but every kid practically has touched Roblox. Yes.
Yeah. Too much. I taught elementary for 10 years. I'm very familiar with Roblox.
Yeah, and so sometimes they'll be on the computer wanting to play Roblox, and I'm like, I really don't feel like it, so I just pull out my phone, and then as soon as we play for 15 minutes, I'm like, sorry, my phone's at 15%, even though it's at 30%, but that's my excuse sometimes. That's my excuse sometimes. I don't do it all the time, okay? Oh, man.
Nobody's judging you here, man. It's all good. This is a safe space.
Sounds good. Whew.
We won't tell anybody except for the dozen or so people that listen to this.
My fans might. My fans might, for sure.
As for me, it should go as no surprise that
Balatro. Balatro. My top 3, Balatro.
No. I've talked about it in the past, but Slice and Dice is a fantastic little rogue game. It's like a dice rolling rogue game where it's turn-based. It's combat. You're fighting these enemies, but it's very in-depth. It's crazy how down the rabbit hole you can go in that game. The sheer number of options and different classes and options and equipment and stuff you could do. It's a great little game. Highly recommend it. Obviously, 1-Bit Adventure. Mario Run I already mentioned. Now, I'm going to tell you a genre of game that I do like to play on mobile, but you're going to judge me when I tell you the genre because you're going to think I'm talking about another game. But I do like match 3 games. No, I'm not talking about Candy Crush. There are 2 games. I believe they're the same developer. There's one game called You Must Build a Boat. Have you heard of this game?
No.
It is a fantastic match 3 game where it's all pixelated. This character is running from it's almost like a runner. This character is running from left to right, and he's trying to work his way through a dungeon. And as you are going through, you come across enemies. And while he's running, below is a match 3 game. But instead of match 3 where you slide them back and forth, it actually makes it like a sliding puzzle where you slide things and you slide things to match 3 or 4 or 5 different things. And if you match swords or magic staffs, that does damage to enemies. And then you collect things to increase your mana. And so it's almost like Puzzle Quest, but much faster paced. You are laughing at me, sir. Why are you laughing at me?
I looked it up. It looks hilarious. It's just...
Dude,
it's like this little 8-bit thing. It almost looks like it has Legend of Zelda colors. Like
Okay.
little green. It's green. It's blue. It's red.
Oh, it's very 8-bit, and like,
Yeah.
but the fun part of the game is the progression, because it's called You Must Build a Boat, because you start on like you and one other guy on a little rowboat, and then you go through the dungeons and do this, and as you get more and more and more stuff, you are able to build the boat and make it bigger. By the end of the game, you're on this massive, like 3-story huge boat, and you're just trying to build a boat. That's like all you're trying to do, and it's super addicting. There's another one that's very similar that's called 10 million. It's just 10,000,000, 000,000. Same style of game, but if you like that style of game, it's an easy recommend. I really like that one. Let's see, what else do I have on here? Phase 10. It's a card game. You know the game. That's a game I can play with my wife. I love Phase 10. I think that's one of the things I gravitate towards on phone is games that are card games or tabletop games that are just easy to play with a phone. You know what I mean? Where I can play with a group of people or play asynchronously with a group and go through and take turns. Those I really gravitate towards. Those are good ones. Oh, what was the one fishing game I played? Oh, man. I got to remember the name of it. Google it while I'm talking about it, Jacob, to see if you can find it. It's something fishing. It's one of the word fishing. And it is a mobile game where you're basically fishing a lure going down as deep as you can without catching a fish. And you're trying to get this lure as deep down as you can. But once you catch a fish, it reels it in and then goes up. And all the fish that you caught fly in the air, and you shoot them out of the sky with a shotgun.
What?
I'm not making this up.
Okay, could you have led with that? It may have made my search a little bit easier.
So yeah, fishing game where you shoot the fish with a shotgun.
Shotgun fishing. I don't
Is
know.
that how it's called?
I don't know.
No, it's not shotgun fishing. It's a hilarious game. But it's again another one where like you shoot the fish and you collect money, and then you get better lures to allow you to go deeper and deeper into the fish. And you can get further and further, and you're just trying to get as far as you can. And you get better weapons to make it easier to shoot the fish out of the sky. It's an awesome
Is it
game.
on your phone? Can't you just look at it?
No, I deleted it a long time ago because I haven't played it. I should go back and look at it. Fishing game on mobile where you shoot the fish. This is what I'm gonna type.
I don't see anything here that.
Maybe it's not on there anymore, but man, if I could find that. Ridiculous Fishing. That's what it's called. Ridiculous Fishing. Go download that game. It's on Apple Arcade. I know I paid for it. I don't know if you can actually just even download it straight up, but that game is just funny enough in concept that I had a good time with that one. So yeah. That is the ones on my list. Again, card games and board games are big for me. I tend to stray from. I know it's like real big to play your big AAA games with a controller and all that kind of stuff. I just don't want to do it that way. I know it's cool. I probably would have geeked out when I was a kid that I could do that. Could you imagine on those long car rides being able to play freaking Halo or something on your phone?
So with this topic up, I remember this like golden age of mobile games. There was Temple Run, Fruit Ninja. There was a couple of other ones, but I remember distinctly
Candy
playing.
Crush.
Candy Crush has been around for.
Guitar Hero was on mobile, and that was kind of innovative. Yeah. It was 3 buttons instead of the whole 5 frets.
I don't think you had a strum either.
No. You just basically tap to the beat, basically, but it was still fun to play on mobile for sure.
I would be so worried I would just break my phone. Tap, 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 tap. I would be pressing it so hard because you get really into that.
So funny story about the Guitar Hero one. I used to spend so much time at Denny's over on East State that I was doing one of my all-nighters there, and I was talking to the waitress and hitting her up and whatever. And she was like, oh, yeah, I just downloaded this game, and it happened to be the Guitar Hero one. And she set her phone down with me and left it and walked away and started waiting tables. And I was like, just gonna leave me your phone with me? Like, you trust me that much? Like, oh yeah. So I was playing on some stranger's phone in the middle of Denny's while she was waiting tables.
That's hilarious. What did she say when she came back?
None. She just, oh, how'd you like it? Oh, It was cool. Like,
So clearly she wanted you to play it.
That
Right.
sounded like a move. Like she was.
it
trying to
was.
get on
Yeah.
you.
It was. It was. And then nothing
She wanted
came
you to
of it.
slide into her DMs.
She looked a little older. I was a little younger.
Yeah.
I was.
So the answer is yes.
Yeah. But I was probably I was probably 18. She was probably 29.
Yeah.
It was. All right, leave me alone.
So let me ask you guys, what are your biggest turnoffs when it comes to playing games on a phone or a tablet? What will just make you go, nope, not going to play this game?
Playing on a phone or a tablet.
Just in general? You just... Well, I picked a great person to be on this episode talking about mobile games.
Wow. No, for me, it's the instant ad pop-ups. I mean, the mobile market is saturated with games that like try to pop up ads and just want you to spend money, sort of thing. And I think that's the sad reality of the mobile market. You really have to go in and find the hidden gems. And there's no like one specific site that can highlight all of those. Play Pass has helped a bit. And find a bunch of different games. I think Stardew Valley is like the biggest. It was like, oh my goodness, they brought this to mobile and it actually like functions differently from PC. But for sure, games that just instantly pop up ads, like give me a rewarded ad, but just don't shove it on my face, kind of thing, because then that just turns me off from
Or
it.
like pay for it and then you don't have to see the ad anymore.
Yeah, but like for example, it's like one of those things where you're forced upon it versus, oh, well, here's an option. If you want to get this cool like sword or get these coins, you can watch an ad, or you could spend money to remove that barrier. Like that would be perfectly fine. But yeah, just the fact that you can play one level and then all of a sudden ad pops up. Then you're like, okay, I watched that ad. I shouldn't see another ad. Play the next level. Oh, you failed. Watch another ad. That's the that's the bad part for me.
Yep.
Especially when it's the same ad. And you've seen this
yeah.
ad for this thing like so many times. It's like,
Oh, funny part. Okay, so I don't know how you guys feel about like clicking ads. I don't click ads on any mobile games or anything like that.
No.
So when I look at my ads, they're very generic and they're quick, as in they don't last more than 15 seconds. But my wife, she is a shopper. She loves spending money. And there are times where she clicks on ads and we're like, oh, honey, look, I found this cool dress for the girls. Like, we could buy it. So she gets ads that are a minute long or interactive ads. So it's like, if you interact more, they're gonna want to, keep pushing it on you because you're pushing ads. So
that's why they do it.
Yeah, that's why they do
Because
it.
it works.
Because my wife clicks on it and it's like, well, yeah, it's cool that you found it, but now you got these 1 minute ads popping up. Like, oh man, yeah. It's
So
crazy.
There are some games that are advertised out there that I really want to play because the marketing is so well done. For example, what's the one with the it's almost like a shmup, but you're like an army guy and he's shooting straight up. And then there is like barriers, and if you destroy the barriers, it will either increase the total war. I think is that what it's called?
there's lots of those, but yes.
Yeah, it's like a zombie survival ad.
Yeah.
And
So
I
so
can't remember.
that one or the game where it's like a match 3 game, but there's a king that has to like work his way through whatever. Like I see those games, I don't want to play them, but the way they market them is they have a person playing it that is so awful at the game. And it makes me go, I could totally do that better. And they've gotten so close to getting me to click on that and download that game because they intentionally have somebody playing it that is so stupid at the game. And I just want to show them up. But I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do it.
I can
I'm
do
not
this
gonna do
better than you.
Yeah. Yeah. That is like brilliant marketing. I don't think I've ever fallen for one of those. Or the ones that used to annoy me. And these are the ones that are usually in game. There's like the tower defense ones where it's like drag here to put an infantry unit here, and it's like I have to watch this ad. I might as well drag it while I'm waiting for this ad to expire,
Don't
and
touch
then
it.
that makes it
Don't
worse.
touch it, no.
So
Yeah, you get sucked into it, and then they're like, oh, let's try to keep doing these interactive games. You love these, okay?
Yeah.
Well, I've also noticed that there's a big trend right now. Back in my days of marketing, there used to be this thing called Go for No, and it was the idea that you wanted to get at least 3 no's from somebody before you knew that they were not going to be a customer. And so a lot of these commercials now that are in these ads, they'll show you one thing, and then you'll click like skip, and then it'll show you another thing, and then you have to wait for that one to skip it, and then it'll do another thing, and then you have to skip that one. And it's the idea that you have to make this person wait each time to say no, to verify that they're actually not going to take your product. But it gets so annoying that, like, I'm on this search for a new solitaire app because I play Spider Solitaire when I go to sleep sometimes, and every time I start a new playthrough, it runs an ad, and it might run one ad, it might run 2 ads, but depending on how many ads it runs, depending on how many times I have to say no. So if it runs 2 ads, I have to say no 2 times because it skips both the ads. Or if it runs 1, I have to say no 3 times. And when I'm trying to go to sleep, the last thing I want to do is be like, no, no, no.
Oh, you like card games on your phone? Have you heard of Balatro?
Not the same card game.
Well, Stacklands is a good PC game that I would recommend playing. I mean, it's a card adventure game, but everything is on the card. So your villager is on a card, and if you want him to craft a sword or a stick, you would buy these cards in bundles, and then you can craft the stick by combining cards together.
I wonder how well
It's
this is
kind. Yes, that's the game. Oh my gosh, it's so addictive, but it's just combining.
It is also
cards
on mobile.
together. Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
see, I ruined my camera. I ruined the camera.
Or maybe it's a different. This is Stacklands Battle. But
yeah, I don't know about that, but that is a good card adventure game. Even though you don't actually see an adventure, you're picturing it in your head as far as like the cards being on the field and like a rat appearing after you open a pack. So yeah.
There's another one. Give me uno second.
While you're looking for that, I'm going to tell you there's like another, I don't know if you'd call it genre of mobile games, but imagine a match 3 grid, but instead of switching things to match 3, you're actually drawing with your finger to trace ones that are like, you can only trace them if they're of like color of gem or whatever. So you're like trying to draw the biggest line you can.
Okay.
There was one that was like a farming one that you would grow crops and then you would harvest your crops by doing this, and then they would drop in new ones and stuff. The name is escaping me, but there's something addicting about that cool feeling of drawing and getting the longer chains of that was kind of cool. It's satisfying, but again, short-lived. So
the other game is called Happy Sheepies. It's like Stacklands, but you have a farm and your little sheep are cards and they bounce around and your goal is to feed the sheep. And so you have like a farmer and you have, it's called Happy Sheepies.
Happy Sheepies.
It's the same developer?
Yeah.
It looks. Oh yes, I need
so.
to play this.
Happy
so
Sheepies. Well, I have to answer this question, Jonathan, and I apologize in advance.
Yes.
We were talking about biggest turnoffs when it comes to games, and I mean no offense, because I know that you make these kinds of games, but when a game is free to play, I kind of am immediately turned off. Now, yours is an exception, because yours is not egregious with the ads, like you said. But if I have a preference, I would rather just pay for the app outright and have access. I happily paid $10 for Balatro. I happily played $10 for Super Mario Run. I would rather just throw money at you and then get the game. Now I know that companies like King don't like that because they're making billions and billions of dollars off of people buying those hearts and all this kind of stuff. But if I'm gonna have to keep paying into a game like that, it's probably not a game that I'm gonna want to play. That's a big reason why I stopped playing Candy Crush, because I refuse to put any money into that because they've got enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the beginning, I threw a couple bucks. It's like, I played your game. I feel like I owe you something, but I am not going to keep playing that game and sustain it. So I tried to just go as far as I could without spending any money on it, and it gets so stupid hard. Or you run out of hearts, and it's like, oh, if I want to play your game again, I got to buy a pack of hearts I'm going to pay $5 to play your game for another 20 minutes. I'm not going to do that. Now, your game doesn't do that.
No, but it was at a point where I was frustrated with income, and I did try being invasive with ads. That ended up being a big regret that I ended up changing back within like 2 weeks or maybe 3. That it was a hard lesson learned, and I think that was one of the things where it's like, I think to myself, because I felt the same way you did when I first got into free-to-play games. It was just like, why play this game that is free when all it's going to do is try to make me pay for something, or guilt trip me into feeling that I need to spend money in the game. And that's it's kind of the beauty of competition. There's going to be companies out there like Monopoly Go that just figured out and tuned it to the perfect spot to make you want to pay and get into this addictive cycle. And then there's the other side of developers like me. Just, we're trying to get by, we're trying to get known, and we're just pouring our heart out into making a good game. And so, yes, definitely I understand, because there is a lot of games out there that just is a quick turn off, like free to play. Oh, no. They're out for my money. And that's true for most of the games out there, especially in the mobile market.
Well, and I can't remember. This isn't a question I should have asked you at the top of the show. When it comes to developing a game like this, like, do you have a choice in what ads are there, or do you go through a company and they kind of select, ads for you, or how does that work?
Yeah, so the process is actually behind the scenes. I can actually view what ads have been displayed on my game, and I can ban certain ads, or I could ban companies, and I could ban genres of ads. So it's basically my own dashboard controller. And for the obvious reasons, you want to have as much of the genres or as much of the categories on to make the most money, because in the end, the advertisers are competing to be in your game. Therefore, you want to have the most open, but there are forbidden, like, I should say, mature rating ads that I turn off for the sake of everyone knowing that I am not trying to put that in your face. I am, I'm trying to be more kid friendly, and therefore, even if it cuts my revenue, I have the choice of, putting that on or off. But yeah, if there's an ad that ends up, getting by the filter, like, they'll report it, and then I can look at my dashboard. And I'm like, all right, let's ban that company or ban that ad. And yeah, that's pretty much how it works in the back end.
So that's interesting. I've always been curious about how that works, because I'm one of those people that likes to say, hey, marketing doesn't work on me. But yet I just got done talking about how I came real close to buying that Kings game, match 3 game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, like, what could you sell me on? Like, what would be a good thing that if I saw an ad, I might bite? I feel like I'm so turned off on ads. Why are you laughing at me?
There are so many jokes that I could say about this, but are not appropriate for the show.
Oh, okay. Well, tell them afterwards, after we're done recording. You can bring it up. No, I'm just thinking, like, like if I see an ad for the same game while I'm in the middle of a game, again, this is me personally. It probably works on a lot of people, but the last thing I want to do while I'm in the middle of a game is to open another app and play a different game. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm really curious to see how that works. Like what the success rate of people going and doing that is, because I'm in the middle of a game. I may check it out later, but I'm not going to check it out right now. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And I think this goes into a deeper discussion on advertising in general, because in the end, it is up to the person advertising to do a good job of hooking. But in worst case scenarios, they're either targeting the wrong demographic, or it ends up being cost negative. In a lot of cases, there is the idea of, if I show you the same ad over and over, you're going to recognize the name, and then eventually curiosity will peak when you do reach a stressing point.
Brand
it might not
recognition.
happen. Yeah, it might not happen right now, but it might happen a few months down the road.
They're
and then
planting
all
the
of a sudden, yeah, they're planting that seed. And just, I think the most known thing is like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. They're always competing for the eyes. And while I might be a Pepsi lover, I still get ads for Coke. Even though I'm never going to buy Coke, they're still going to do it. And it's the same with that versus video games. They're really trying to hook you in, whether they release a new update and then all of a sudden the graphics change. But it also is part of the system. Sometimes we, as a person trying to market my game, it will reach where I can't control who it goes to, and you might get an ad for this game, and I'm like, I don't want to target you because you're not clicking it. It's like, I don't have control over that. Google does. I can tell Google, market towards this age group and market towards this ethnicity or location. Let's do it in this location. And Google wins. They're the one getting the money from me, spending the money, so it works out best for them. And at the end of the day, it's really just spreading the word on a product. And it's I don't know any more way to describe it. In terms of just trying to get the word out is what the whole idea of that is for.
Interesting. Well, that's what our thoughts were on mobile gaming. Let's see what the community said. I posted this on all of our social media outlets. We're going to kick things off over on Discord. Jonathan, would you mind reading that first comment from Alan Sheck, who you probably met
That's a long
at
one.
R2V2? Yeah.
Oh.
Alan Sheck was the developer of Catastrophic Inversion, the VR game that we had at R2V2. Did you get a chance to play that?
Alan, I am disappointed in the state of the mobile game industry. The stores are populated with endless clones of the same few types of games. 3-lane runners, Candy Crush, etc. For like $20 to $30, I got a clip-on controller and it made all the difference. Maybe 8 years and 2 phones ago, I played through the entirety of San Andreas and Bully on my phone. The Stranger Things top-down adventures were good. I frequently play Minecraft on my phone. I stream modern titles from my PC as well. Everyone literally has a near Switch level device in their pocket, and we're wasting its potential. I would love to see more ports of PS2 era games and more modern 2D top-down adventures. I haven't played 1-Bit Adventure yet, but I'll have to check it out. It looks like exactly the thing we need. Woo.
Well, can't wait to hear from you, Alan. Hopefully you checked it out. Would love to hear what you think. He makes a good point, though. Like, we have this awesome device that can do all this stuff, and we use it to play match 3 games or lane runners or, whatever, or endless clones of them, but they sell. They work. You know what I mean? People get sucked in very easily, so solid point there.
At the same time, it sounds like he's actually sitting down and playing a game on his phone rather than playing a mobile game or something that could be described as a mobile game. So it's more making the games that we have currently mobile versus making a good mobile game.
I wonder if Nintendo Switch Online could ever migrate over to mobile. So, like, if you know how you play for a Nintendo... Why are you laughing at everything that I say?
New from Verizon, the new Switch Go or some nonsense.
No. Like, there is a Nintendo Switch
take,
Online app.
Take calls on your Switch now.
I picture someone holding up a Switch to the side of their face.
Brick.
Like, this massive tablet. No, like, Nintendo Switch Online has an app, but obviously you can't play the games on there. Or there's the Nintendo Switch Online music app that just released last week. Like, I wonder if they made it so that you could play those Nintendo games and Super Nintendo games and Genesis and Game Boy Advance and all that kind of stuff on your phone with a computer. That would be kind of rad.
Yeah.
I'd probably be more apt to play them there, honestly, than on Switch. Just because, I could play those in short bursts on my phone as opposed to pulling off the Switch. I don't know. It's just something to think about. Logan Honigford says, I really dislike mobile games. It might be just because I don't have a good enough phone that's capable of running any games, but I would rather play games on Xbox or PC. The controls on mobile games are really uncomfortable for me compared to a controller. I mean, we talked about that. The touch screen buttons, don't even try to play a game like that. Like, Jonathan, you perfected it. Just swipe up, down, left, right. That's all you got to do. That makes perfect.
Yes.
I love that. Jacob.
Kevin Honenberg. Whatever the hell. However you say your name. Mr. Kevin. I'm generally not a mobile games kind of guy. However, I checked out One Bit Adventure just because of this show, and I gotta say, it's addictive as hell. I agree with Logan Honenberg that mobile controls are uncomfortable and inconvenient at all get up. But there's really no way around that without buying a separate device. Alan Sheck spoke on my disdain for the market as a whole. There are so many money grab copies that swimming through them to find the actual decent game that's not a ripoff is almost impossible. I do have a question though. Why do devs create games for mobile and not other platforms such as PC?
Whew, that is a good hot topic, to be honest. A part of it deals with trying to port over into the PC market. It's more like trying to create a new mechanic or system and making it compatible on both ends. Because when you think of mobile, the inputs are physically touching a screen. There could be multiple fingers touching the screen, and certain games work just wonders on mobile. But then when you try to port it over to PC, for instance, my one-bit adventure game, it was Portrait on mobile. But then bringing it onto Steam, I had to create new UI. I also had to mess with the input system because it definitely wasn't meant to be keyboard and mouse. It was meant to be, using your finger on the screen. So things wouldn't register. And when we look, like, it really delves into the number games. And if you're doing so well on mobile, lots of times you don't want to go to PC because then they'll reference, oh, it's a mobile game. I'm not going to play it if it's a mobile game. And so it discourages the idea. And I think it's been proven in the past that mobile games don't belong on PC. And I think that sort of stereotype has existed long enough, but Google Play is actually changing it by allowing mobile games to be on PC via Google Play Games PC beta. I believe that's what it's called. So there is a shift happening, but it really is, how much work is it going to take? Is it going to be worth the demand for it? And the functionality of it. You're thinking of different graphics card, different screen resolutions, how well it's going to look UI wise. So yeah, a big task for something that's could be as simple as porting never ends up. And it works vice versa. Like how Final Fantasy ended up porting their game onto mobile. They did the whole screen UI thing, and it was like, well, if you love Final Fantasy, you're going to play it, but is it going to be comfortable? Yeah, I don't know. I would rather play it on PC. So definitely works both ways. It depends on the developer's time and effort. But yeah, for the most part, that's the main reason why they stick to mobile.
Interesting. Thanks for the insight, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
We had one more comment, and I took this one so you guys didn't have to read this long one from Paul.
Thank you.
Paul Hine writes, I've been hot and cold on the mobile gaming space. Back in the iPhone 4 era, I ate up titles like Infinity Blade. Oh, man, that was a good one. Infinity Blade was like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out in a medieval world. It was pretty good. Cut the Rope, Angry Birds, and Flappy Bird. Much like Alan Sheck, I played through San Andreas and even most of Bully all with a controller. There are some excellent Apple Arcade games, no ads. Fantasian, Alto's Odyssey, and the Asphalt series. My current obsession is Retro Bowl 25. I think Kevin's been playing that as well. Though without this service, I am in the same camp as Kevin Honigford that there are way too many BS games, that so many ads, microtransactions, and time gating that it's hard to find anything anymore. In fact, the landscape of pay-once games on mobile seems pretty rare now, save for some AAA ports, Assassin's Creed, Death Stranding, etc. I never got into Genshin Impact, Call of Duty Warzone, Minecraft, or Fortnite, which all seem wildly popular on mobile. I'm probably the wrong age demographic for those. Now, I use my gamepad on my phone mostly for remote play for my Xbox or cloud streaming out and about. In fact, I played about 40% of my playthrough of Halo Infinite on cloud streaming and have even played remote with Scott and Kevin Baldur's Gate 3 because the TV was being used. I don't know if that counts as mobile gaming, but it feels like it should. My question for the developer, why do so many people put out a game with time-gated gotcha mechanics? Is it simply because it works? Is that the easiest or laziest way to monetize a game? What do you think, Jonathan?
It has been proven that time-gated mechanics such as like, oh, you need to get this now before it's too late, it'll expire. It's been proven that urgency gets the best of people, especially when they're invested. So yes, it is as simple as it works. So why avoid something that is working like 100% of the time? It's been proven, especially with the life. What is it? The heart or life system in was it Candy Crush that has that?
Yeah, the hearts.
Yes, and it's like, oh, do I want to really wait for that to go down just to get another life? Like, I'm just gonna spend some money. I got time now. I'm on break. I just want to relax and play the game, and that essentially ends up being the turning point of us, being humans, right? We just want to get that next dopamine of excitement that makes us feel good.
Immediate gratification.
Yes, and if we can get that now, we will do it. The sad truth is, there is going to be a lot of companies that abuse this to the point where it's not fun to the average person that's playing. But to those that are very desperate and want it, they're going to spend the money, and those are called whales. And whales will drop thousands of dollars on video games, mobile games, specifically to eliminate that barrier or that time that they, would end up using. So
yeah, if you listen to this show, you know that I am a Pinball FX whale.
Yes.
I buy every single table that comes in that game. So I'm hi. Hey. I'm the problem. It's me. Anyway.
Hey, it's not a problem if you are doing it for your enjoyment.
Yeah.
It is a problem if you're, taking out the life savings just to, get into this habit and addiction. That I would definitely say that is a problem.
Or giving your kid access to your credit card.
Oh, yes. Oh, man. Please lock your accounts. Put parental control. I had to do it for my daughter because it was the first time she ever, pressed the transaction. Fortunately, we had passwords on everything, and she was on a tablet, and she wanted to play a game that was, you had to purchase it, and it pinged us and said, wait, we weren't trying to buy this game. What? And then we turn around, it's her. So,
nice.
Yes, locked them up.
Well, that is our topic for the week. That was a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody that wrote in. I thought that we had a really good, healthy discussion, and it was awesome to have you here for it. Jonathan got to get some insight from an actual developer of mobile games. That was great. Next week's topic, we're going to be talking to somebody else that is not yet in the industry, but is trying to get in the industry. So we're going to talk next week's topic about trying to get into the video game industry, something that I am not ever going to try to do, but I think Jacob probably would if he had the ability to.
I already have once. I went to programming school.
Yeah. So we're going to have him on to talk about that. He's actually on his way to programming school or in programming school now. So we're going to talk to him about what that's like and what his plans for the future. I think that'll be a lot of fun. So stay tuned. Look on the socials for that. If you'd love to ask him a question, or maybe Jake, because he is in the same boat. So ask somebody that's getting into the industry what it's like and how to get started if you want to do that. So stay tuned. But that's going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Jonathan, thank you so much for being our guest. It's been awesome to chat with you.
No problem. Definitely. Thank you for being very welcoming on this podcast and just, allowing me to speak the word and, chill and have fun. So it was fun. So
very cool. Where can our listeners follow you and your work? You got a website or just the apps, the app stores?
Yes. So, onebitadventure.com is everything that I have. If Twitter, I'm on at 1bitadventure. And also the Discord is on the website, onebitadventure.com. If you join the Discord, I'm very active. I'm very welcoming. I don't bite. I'm not going to ask you for money. It's definitely to, help spread the word and make the best game possible with 1bit. So.
And just to be clear, that is one spelled out, right? O-N-E.
Oh, yes. ONEBIT adventure.com.
Very cool, man.
Just remember,
Well,
you can also go to dungeonofgreed.com to stay in tune for his new work that's coming out.
Oh my gosh, how could I forget? Yes, the sequel to 1-Bit Adventure, dungeonagreed.com. And yes, so 1-Bit is single player, free to play, and Dungeon Agreed is going to be the multiplayer version of 1-Bit. It's going to be a blast, I would say.
Very cool. Everybody out there, thanks so much for listening. This episode of The Gaming Outsider was produced by Kevin Honigford, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemmage and Metroid Metal. His website, as always, is stemmagemusic.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Jonathan, at this point in the show, we always ask everybody if they've got any kind of recommendations for our listeners, maybe not video game related, something that they should check out, anything that you've experienced over the week. I'm going to go to Jacob first because we kind of sprung this one on you, so we'll come back to you. But Jacob, any recommendations, parting words for our listeners?
I was actually kind of looking forward to having Alyssa on the show because I was going to talk anime.
Oh, yeah?
I was actually going back and watching the Inuyasha anime from my childhood many, many years ago, and I forgot when I was a kid watching it, it was weekly. And so when the new show came out, that was cool, blah, blah, whatever. And now I'm watching it back to back to back to back. And that show was annoying. Just annoying. They talk about what happened in the last show or the last episode like 4 or 5 times throughout the new show. Oh yeah, that's that guy. He did this. He did that. He did shut up. Get to the point. But
yeah.
Anyway, it's always fun.
All right, Jonathan, you got one?
It might be a hot take, but I kind of enjoyed Ring of Power Season 2.
Okay.
It's a hot take because it's controversial because it's not like exactly word for word part of the lore or the universe of Lord of the Rings. But what Amazon has done with the seasons, it's still interesting. It's got good characterization. Elrond is like the most lovable character and you feel bad for him throughout the seasons. And I finished up season 2 a month ago and it was, oh man, it makes me want to go back and watch Lord of the Rings for as much hours I'm going to waste rewatching it. It definitely got me back and excited. So yeah.
Very cool. I have the weirdest recommendation. I did something this past weekend that I haven't done in a long time. My wife and I were looking for something to do for date night, and she decided she wanted to go bowling. I'm not a bowler, but went out and went bowling. It's still fun.
You went bowling without me?
I did. It was a date night. I wasn't bringing you on a date night with my wife. But
we could have double dated. My wife likes your wife.
We could do that. We should do a double date on bowling because my wife is like, she used to bowl like when she was in high school, and she was in leagues and this kind of stuff. I had a good time. While we were there, though, there was like, I think they were high school girls there were 2 teams because they had like, opposing jerseys. They all had outfits or uniforms, which I didn't know was a thing. I've never been hardcore into bowling, but they even had like cheers. Like when somebody got a spare, they all like chanted the same thing and they got super excited. And I was like, wow, you guys get really into it. This is pretty cool. But I had a good time. I haven't bowled in years, and I bowled a 191. My second game, I was, that didn't break 200, but I was pretty happy. So yeah, go out there and go bowling with some friends. And apparently we're going to be double dating now, Jacob.
I'm a big bowler. I was on leagues and teams, and my school had a bowling team when I was in high school. So
that's right. We bowled at Extra Life.
Don't bring that up. We never talk about that. Those lanes were crap.
That was an awful
experience. Awful experience. That was terrible.
I love Tilted 10, but don't go bowling there. Like, ever. It's awful. All right. Well, thank you guys. It was awesome to chat with both of you. Jonathan, you're an awesome guest. We really had a good time talking with you. Until next week.
Thank you.
I'm Scott Clark with Jacob Gunderson and Jonathan Concepcion, and we are the Gaming Outsider. Remember, there's no thing. And remember,
Nicely done. There's no such thing as a bad game. Just games that aren't for you.
thank you, Jacob, for speaking the end for me because I can't. Have a great night, everybody.